everyone. This is Heaving Bosoms Ask a Badass, where we spotlight listeners about their lives, their love of romance, and so much more. Next week, we're bringing you part 2 of The Bollywood Bride by Sonali Dev, so make sure you tune in on Monday, February 24th. Once again, we want to make sure you know there's some content that might be tricky, so be careful if sexual assault, domestic abuse, mental health issues, mental health shame, or eating disorders are triggering for you. We try to deal with the content as sensitively as possible and still manage to get some giggles in, but take care of yourselves nonetheless. And now we have Natalie's interview with Erika C. As a forensic pathologist, she's a woman of science, an amazing friend, a runner, a library lover, knitter, and rocker of many cult lipsticks and luscious curls. Without further ado, Erika C.
Hello, Erika.
Hello, Natalie. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited that this worked out. Listeners, Erika and I had some technical difficulties because life is just real hard. And we had to reschedule this. We almost had to reschedule it tonight. But
Yes.
here we are doing it, doing the thing. I'm really glad we are because I was looking forward to it. And I feel like you get 2 opportunities to reschedule something and then it never happens. You know what I mean? Like that third time. Yeah, it never happens.
I was feeling bad because I had a cold, and now my dryer is in pieces in the basement. So it's been a week.
That sounds about right. Yeah, although last week when we had to reschedule, even though I was sad to not talk to you, I would have been not a very. I mean, maybe it would have been funny. I was very cynical last week. I'm
always very cynical. This would have been a really bitter episode.
Things got dark on Ask a Badass last week. That's what they would have said. I think, a good amount of a balance of cynical that's good, right?
Yes.
I tend to be on the glass half full side of things, sometimes annoyingly to other people. But, last week was not the week for me. So, hey. I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this week.
Yay.
Listeners, I'm here with Erika. You might know her from imparting her vast medical knowledge on the cult. She's the queen of the Bing Boong Bong, like veins don't pulse, right? Other things.
And other things. Doesn't matter where that
We're going to come
is,
in right heavy with
pulse.
the Bing Boong Bongs right off the bat.
Oh, it's hard.
Doesn't matter if it's in your penis or your neck or your wherever. It's not pulsing, okay?
It's not pulsing. Or that vein in your forehead that's always pulsing. It's not a vein if it's pulsing.
What is it doing?
It would be an artery if it's pulsing.
Oh, okay. So this is anatomy with Erika right now.
Yeah, sorry. Arteries pulse, veins, it's passive, like low pressure flow. So
okay, all right. If I was going to compare a vein to something that was like another real life item that, like a hose.
Yeah. So usually, I do reference large vessels as hoses, but the arteries are like the high pressure hose. That's like your
a fire hose?
Like your fire hose, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
And then, a vein is just like the hose. Like if you're stealing someone's gasoline, and you give it that suck, and then it just kind of flows out. As you do. There's no real pressure there. It just kind of flows.
It's the same thing when you clean a fish tank, FYI.
Yeah.
When you use a siphon section for a fish tank. So in case you haven't siphoned anyone's gasoline, listener out there, but you do have a fish tank, it's the same as that, I would guess.
Yeah.
Great. That's a good reference. Now I know.
I know.
And also, listener, Erika is anonymous right now. You are using a pseudonym. This is your pen name.
This is my online persona.
persona. Yeah. She's not catfishing us, you guys. It's for her own protection. Things get cray in the world of. Do we want to talk a little bit what your job is? Really quick?
We can talk about my job.
Okay, I didn't want to like blow your cover.
Blow my cover. I am a forensic pathologist. I work in a large inner city area, and so like my real name is on our website, and so I'm real searchable. So I just try to like have a little layer of anonymity.
I have found her actual name on the internet before. It's not hard. It's real easy.
It's real easy.
I am very non-anonymous, but there are also a lot of Natalie Martins out there in the world. Not that many hyphenates, though, so keep that in mind. So Erika and I know each other because we are both in the same area of the world, and so we've met in person. So sorry, guys, I'm luckier than you.
IRL.
In real life, I have seen her face, and she's awesome, and I'm so happy to know her in person and be friends with her. And thank you so much for recording with me today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This is
anytime. I am just pressing all of my friends into my podcast.
Into service. Yeah,
there's no profit here, though. Sorry, you've met me in person. You must now record with me. But you've been a romance reader for a really long time.
Forever. Yeah, for probably almost 30 years now. I probably was like 12 or 11, one of the earlier. Because back in the way back times, like YA novels were garbage. I think I read Forever by Judy Blume, and there was some sexy times in there. But anything else I tried to find that was similar to that, but where they actually like stayed together, didn't exist. So I found...
Not in that genre.
No, not in that genre. Like YA was no good at the time.
Did you read Summer Sisters? AKA
I did not.
My coming of age Judy Blume experience?
I did not. I think I was so disappointed with Forever that I was like, I am not doing this again.
When did Judy Blume start being like, Ramona Quimby was great, but you know what these things need? A little heavy petting. That's what these books need.
I think you write enough Ramona and you just have to move on from that eventually.
So, started reading at 12, and then did you continue to read, or did you read romance, or like?
I did. I read all the way through. Like I tried. I dabbled in some of them. The categoricals I ended up skipping pretty early on. Because
when you say categorical and you were going to tell a person that doesn't really know anything about writing or genres, what would you tell them that is? So
I think of those as like the thin silhouettes or the thin harlequins, like back in the way back times.
The grocery store.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I tried those and was like, this is not worth my time. And so I quickly jumped into the big, thick, like $400, $500 or $500 page.
Limited edition. First...
like your bodice rippers with your Fabios on front and the ladies with their cleavage spilling out of their historical gowns. Like that's was really what I found that I liked. And so I was in that for a very long time.
Do you read a lot of paranormal?
I do read a lot of paranormal.
And when did you kind of switch to paranormals?
So I was in training for a really long time. And while I was in training, I quickly discovered that I could not read and actually get my work done. And so I would put like a pause on that. But I would remember what authors I liked. And so then when I would come back or like have break or something, then I would look at the same authors. And I started out in general surgery, actually. And when I switched from surgery to pathology residencies, I took a year off. And at that time, it was like rediscovering myself, rediscovering my life. And it was like 2012. And I had been in like a holding pattern with my reading for the past 10 years. And so had not realized that books had changed significantly while I was still reading the same, like 5 authors. And then it was like, it opened a whole new world. I'm like, what is this bonkers stuff? Like they used swear words. Like it wasn't just, sheathed his steel and velvet kind of stuff. It was like really anatomic terms.
It's always velvet covered steel, isn't it? Like even in contemporaries, I feel like that reference, that analogy, is that the right word? Analogy, sure, is used very often. Velvet-covered steel. Anyway, sorry, they were using swear words.
Yeah, using swear words, we're using anatomic terms, using like bonkers stuff, and I'm like, this is amazing. Where have I been asleep? And I realized, yes, I'd been under a rock.
Kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I was under a rock for many years, and so then I would come out, and I'm like, what is this, and how do I find more of it? But then because I'm old, I didn't realize you could, like, I was not so clever with searching things with the internet.
Yeah.
So I would I would check out anthologies at the library that had like an author that I knew I liked. And I'm like, I will read this anthology and see if I like any of these other authors. And so I was able to find a few that way. And then most of them at this point had like a back catalog of stuff that I was able to go through.
Yeah.
And then I also discovered there was Felicia Day had I think it was a YouTube show called Vaginal Fantasies. And so that was like a reading, it was a reading club. So they would pick, 2 books a month or whatever, and then they discussed at the end. But it gave me like a whole list of new authors to try. So I found a lot of new people. Yes, Vaginal Fantasy.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's now defunct.
Didn't know. Right. But I feel like there's other authors out there that have like YouTube channels that is an unexplored avenue for me. Don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I didn't either. And so I didn't watch the videos that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I would look at what list, what books they were reading, and then I would just add to my TBR pile. So it was like a constant new author kind of thing.
I don't even know how I find, well, it's mainly through HBs that I'm like finding new books right now, because there's just book threads all the time. And I'm just constantly like adding to my Amazon wish list and adding to wherever and just purchasing books. Well, luckily, a lot of people will do like Kindle Unlimited threads, which is helpful for me because I do Kindle Unlimited, but it's a problem. Okay, HBs, you just need to chill out a little bit. I cannot read this fast. I only have so much time in the day.
It is a problem. I use exclusively almost like the wish lists on Overdrive.
Okay.
And Hoopla to keep track of everything because I don't buy books anymore. I bought a lot of books back in high school, and then because I moved every year or 2 years, and I just don't reread, so it wasn't worth it for me to buy books.
Yeah.
And in the early days of Kindle, I'm like, why do I want this clogging up my catalog of whatever? I like what Kindle is now, that you can just check out books from the library and like return them. But so I don't need to own a lot of books.
My local library is very small because I live in a very rural area, and they do not have a large Kindle catalog. And what they do have is a lot of Jude Deveraux and a lot of Fern Michaels.
Yeah, I think I crossed those off really early in my reading career. I'm like, no, we're not reading these.
The problem, and I don't know. I'm a snob, I guess, but I'm probably reading real shitty books. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that I'm sure, like, I'm being a snob, but not because I'm reading only good quality books that are perfect and awesome all the time. I just like what I like. You know what I mean? And Jude Deveraux, unfortunately, is not for me. And she is for other people. Obviously, she's very much for the people that live in my town. But so it doesn't work right for my library because I just don't have access to a lot of stuff, which is dumb. So I buy books all the time.
And I have access to 2 major metropolitan bookstores or library systems.
Yeah.
And I take shameless advantage of both of them. Like,
well, you do a lot of audiobooks too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I started with audiobooks when I was pregnant with my second and couldn't read on the train anymore. And so then it's really easy to read books, especially ones that are recommended, but I wouldn't normally pick out because then I listen to them in like 2x and can kind of like skim and pop in and out.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. Like you're listening to them 2 times speed. Like I feel like my brain can't soak in information that fast. Which is why I am not a pathologist. I am in customer service. I only have to soak in information as fast as people tell it to me. It's perfect for me. So kind of like me, I think you like use romance as kind of an escape a little bit, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like my real life, I see enough shitty stuff and deal with enough crappy stuff that I need something that's lighter than that. I don't get into a lot of angsty romances. I don't read a lot of contemporary because I have a real life.
You want to escape from, you don't, exactly. I had that conversation with someone the other day. It's like, even if it's a contemporary, you want there to be like a billionaire or a motorcycle or a something that I need a few
more layers away from that. Yeah. Like the billionaires, exactly. I'm anti-billionaire right now. Yeah, I understand. I'm not into
it's kind of like Dukes. There's only so many of them, and most of them are old, you know.
But there's enough layers of I don't know anything about Dukes that reading about Dukes is okay. Like billionaires, like in general, I'm anti-billionaire. So
Yeah.
I don't want to read about your happy ever after billionaire.
The thing that I like about billionaires is like, you don't have to think about how that bill gets paid. And that's why it's a billionaire.
That's true.
I don't need to think
absolutely.
about how this person just bought you an entire new wardrobe overnight and had it tailored for you. I don't need to think about that because it's a billionaire. It's $1 million. You don't have to worry about it. He could pay for literally anything.
Yeah.
And that is like the appeal for me. Like, you could get every kind of grocery in just 3 seconds. Like, I like that kind of idea.
Which is fine. And I'm all right with a billionaire if you add another layer of, you know, bizarre, like if you make him a duke, or you take it into paranormal or something like that, or put it in space. Like, that's fine.
Billionaires in Space by Chuck Tingle.
Exactly. But once it's like, if it's modern day, like America, and there's some billionaire, like, I don't want to read about that guy. Yeah,
I understand. Billionaires in modern America is kind of a hellscape that we don't need to like.
Yeah.
We don't need to put into romance novels anymore.
No, we don't.
Are you currently like super passionate about anything in your life? What are you doing right now?
So I am passionate about finding a real life. I have been in training forever. I passed my boards maybe 2 years ago, but otherwise
training for your work job.
For my job.
Yeah.
So like 15 years essentially between like undergrad, med school, residency. Kidding. I know, like, and all of 2 residencies essentially.
Yeah.
So it's like all of that time is like trying to become the next level, but you're never like a real person in that time period. You're always just finishing this little chunk so you can move on to the next chunk. And so it was like, once I passed boards, I'm like, now I'm a real person. I can do real stuff. And it was like kind of rediscovering.
What can I do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I have small children, and it's like, well, so I can't, I mean, at least they're not like in diapers, so I can leave them alone for a few minutes at a time. But it's kind of nice.
So you did children and med school at the same time?
I did. Well, I was in residency. I was in surgery residency when I had my first.
But, like, are you actually a superhero? Because I feel like I'm just trying to do, like, children and a work job. And that's, like, I'm just, like, barely able to handle it. So
no, it's rough. And I had my partner, luckily. And, you know, we were able to find childcare, but there were a lot of, you know, it's rough because I was doing 24-hour calls. So at work for, like, 30 hours, then go home and sleep. And, like, can't take care of the kid while I'm doing that, and like my husband has to be responsible for, you know, keeping the kid alive during that time period. And absolutely. I could get called in at any time. So, you know, there were some rough spots where we have to figure out, you know, how to negotiate and navigate all of that. And so that was rough too. And then you're in the thick of it as a mom and like trying to keep small children alive.
And yourself, because it's just like, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I'm really bad at is, you know, I can keep everyone else alive, no problem. But then, you know, I'm the one that tends to fall by the wayside. It seems like, you know,
and I discovered, I mean, with my job, there are some really bad days, like some really bad days. And I need like an emergency kit for that. And so it's like, I've got romance and then also other self-care practices. I started actually washing my face.
What?
I know.
I'm still doing it like every other day here, maybe. So I think that's like a true superpower.
Well, I started this like 2 years ago, and like I have now worked up to the stage where I like wash my face at night. I like have a toner, I have a moisturizer, I have eye cream. Like it's a whole thing now. But this is
grown
like
ass lady right now.
It's like 2 years in the making.
Nice.
Like I've been
maybe there's still hope for me then.
Maybe. I'd been doing like the eye forever. Like that was one thing when I was in medical school because people would talk about just everyone, you know, crashing and burning and coming into the hospital looking like garbage. And I'm like, well, I will at least keep the smoky eye. That's what I will maintain that through the entire thing. And then I just started the lipstick with the cult lipstick. And so now I wear lipstick too.
I know. It's the best, isn't it? Like
it's very good.
Something that I have found, especially with my new job, because when I had my old job, it was like, the expectations were very low. They had met me like at 23 and I would come in like one step above sweatpants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like maybe washed hair. And then like that was the expectation. So then there was never any pressure to like do anything. So if you did wear makeup and lipstick, it was like, what's happening with you today? Like it was always a lot of comments. So you just never did it. And then when I kind of switched jobs, I was like, this is the opportunity. You can like wear makeup and put things on your face and feel good about it and not have to like feel pressured to like talk about why or whatever. So it's been nice. It makes me feel like I'm doing something for myself.
Yeah, I like it. And it doesn't come off, which is nice because that's one of the reasons I didn't wear lipstick before was because it would always like fade and then I have to reapply and I can't be bothered to do that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Or you forget. And then like all of a sudden you're in the bathroom after like 4 hours of doing stuff and you're like, good God, no.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the awkward lip liner look.
I have a funny story about lipstick because I work with a lot of seniors. Like 90% of my target market is senior women.
Very good.
And so I was wearing the lipstick the other day and I had a woman kind of sidle up to me and goes, you know, I meant to tell you before, I really love your lipstick. And I was like, it's the best. Look. And I like went to try to wipe it off and it didn't come off. And she was like, it's magic. And I was like, I know. And she's probably 75. And we were talking about it. And so then I went and found like a scrap of paper and wrote down like the brand for her. And I was like, you can get it at Target. You can get it at CVS. It's perfect. And she was so put in her purse. And she was going to go on her way home from her bus trip. And I was so excited.
Very nice.
So Melody, if you're listening, I'm spreading the gospel with the 75-year-old and older set. No worries. Anything else that you're doing for yourself? Like what are some of your other things that you're doing?
I run and I recently started actually playing with it for a time because before I just always thought that I was like a 10-minute miler and that was kind of where I would always be. And then, I mean, obviously I was really running like 11 or 12-minute miles. And so I actually started really working on improving my time. And have
which is really hard.
It is
like,
hard
to drop a minute or even a fraction of that is really hard.
You actually have to like work at it.
You have to do like sprints and stuff.
Yeah, which is garbage, but it gives you something better to do on a treadmill than just like, I don't know, stare at the person in front of you. Yeah. So I did that. It
depends on the person in front of you, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I work on that, and then I taught myself to knit this summer.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I need something to do with my hands that is not just scrolling on Facebook or playing whatever painting game on my tablet that I have. So I taught myself to knit, and again, this like the YouTube came in really handy.
I've learned so much knitting, so much knitting, so many tricks about knitting. Like, and usually, so I'm the kind of knitter where I'll knit like once every 2 years, and then I have to teach myself how to cast on every single time. So I've watched so many ladies casting on YouTube. It's the best.
It is. It's very helpful because I'll forget how to bind off. So I'm like, how do you bind off again?
Yeah,
like,
what?
What's an I-cord? I don't know. What is this?
I mean, what is an I-cord though?
What is an I-cord? And like a passo? What is that?
No, you're using literally. I have no clue. I know yarn over, and I know. No, I'm very much a novice knitter, but part of it is because I am bad at sitting still. So it's one of those things.
Well, this is I am also like that, but I wanted to watch TV. And I can't just sit and watch TV. I have to like be doing something else. So I started knitting.
So what my problem is I have to look at the knitting, you know what I mean? When I'm doing it. So then I would either look at the knitting and not look at the TV. And then all of a sudden you'd be like, what happened in the last 10 minutes? I'm gone. And then, or you would watch the TV and not watch the knitting.
Yeah.
And you would either mess up, or I would either mess up or I would stop. And my one needle would like slide out.
Oh, that's the worst.
You weren't. Yes, it is the worst. Trust me. I know. So anyway, I'm not meant to do those things. Two things at once.
But my kids are very excited that I can actually like make things. Like this is like magic to them. They're like, you made gloves? And I'm like, or mittens? I'm like, yeah, look, I made a mitten. I'm like, I made you a scarf. That was how I started, is I just bought some multicolored yarn at Target, and every time it changed color, I would change the pattern. And they
Wow.
love it. It's like a sampler scarf. They each have a sampler scarf. And they're like, this is amazing.
That is amazing. Well, kids are the best because they're in awe of when you create something or like watching you do something. And my mother-in-law is a very skilled knitter and sewist. And so she's making a hand sewn quilt right now. And so Ruby will see her and she'll be like, this is magic.
Yeah.
And I bake a lot, and she's always like, you did this bread, Mom? Like, it is always, she just makes you feel, she's like a one-woman hype team. She just is like, wow, Mom. And she's a big suck-up, too. She'll be like, I am so thankful for the food you make me, Mom. She'll say something like that. I'm like, okay, yeah, great. No treats for you.
Yeah, you trained her well.
Stop sucking up. No, just kidding. She always gets treats. But yeah, I totally know what you mean, though, because you have to find stuff that kind of, for me, it's stuff that's separate from my kids, because I feel like it sucks a little bit of the self-care away when I'm still doing something for my children.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to find things that are not with the kids, because I am still, a mom, and I have to take care of them a lot of the evenings. And it's like, there are other things I would like to pursue. It would be interesting to like work on a new language or like learn an instrument or something like that. But I have to stay at home in the evenings with my kids. So
yeah. I totally get it. And that is how this podcast was formed. Here it is.
Yay.
Ta-da. I feel like we've talked about a couple of them, but do you have any other current lady loves?
So there's a Sally Hansen, like quick dry nail polish.
I'm familiar.
I discovered it when I had a 2-year-old that wanted her nails painted, and I could barely sit still long enough for my own nails to dry.
Yeah.
And this stuff is like magical. I still use it on my toes. Their colors are amazing. But yeah.
They have like a mirror finish line that is very, very cool.
And it really does dry in like a minute, and you're good to go.
And if you are aged 2 to, I mean, I haven't found the limit of
for like
ages.
41 at least.
At least, yeah. You will think they're pretty, and you will think they're cool, and you will appreciate how you can still unzip a toddler's pants right after you have
applied it. Yeah.
Right after you applied it. It's magic.
It is magic.
Again, I feel like we've talked about a lot of stuff that's magic,
yes.
but
and I've also recently discovered Spotify, which I realize it's been around for a while now.
Yeah.
But their algorithms are also magic.
They're extremely good. Whatever they're doing, every other platform is doing incorrectly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I discovered that apparently what I like is Scandinavian house music.
I didn't even know that was a genre.
I didn't either. But it's apparently what I listen to.
Spotify knew, though.
Spotify did know.
I do love Spotify, and I wish I probably should start using it, because it sounds like people use it a lot for their podcasts, and they can put all of their RSS feeds on there, and they can listen to everything on Spotify, and that's really what I want, is to be able to do everything in one app.
Oh, that would be nice. I have not moved my podcast over to Spotify.
What are you using?
I just use the iTunes one. Partly because I've just become accustomed to it, and I know like all the things that I've listened to, and it's like in there.
Yeah.
And to set it up anywhere else, I'd have to like recreate the wheel, because there are a lot of podcasts that
I'm listening to 3 podcasts right now. Well, 4, including the one that my kids listen to, which is Story Pirates for any parents out there. And it is fucking fantastic.
Oh, maybe we'll have to check that out.
So here's Story Pirates. It is sketch comedians who take stories written by kids and turn them into sketch comedy and songs. And it is hilarious for adults and children. And the kids, and then they have the authors do a little thing about how they created the story too. So it's kids talking about how they wrote the story. And they have a story prompt at the end of every episode for kids to write their own stories. It's awesome.
Wow.
I have a child that is 4 and a child that is 6. And they're a little bit too young, but they still love it.
Oh,
so
okay.
Anybody up till like 12, I would think, would like it.
Maybe I'll see if the 9-year-old is interested.
She probably would be, I think. I think she would really like it. I've heard like 7, 8, 9-year-old kids that submit stories to it, and she would be old enough to understand it.
And she does like stories.
Yeah, and it's funny, and they have they do all these voices, and they talk about you have to listen to it. So Story Pirates, that's gonna be my lady love for today, because you can put it on the car and you don't listen to dumb kids songs, and it's still funny.
We've been working on let's listen to lady singers, and I'm like, how about female vocalists? We can listen to female vocalists. So now whenever we get in the car, the girls are like, can we listen to some female vocalists? And I'm like,
female vocalists.
Yeah.
For 100, Alex. So that's what it sounds like to me. Are you ready for a lightning round?
Yeah, let's do a lightning round.
Let's do a lightning round. I'm going to try to add some new questions in.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Do you bath meal?
I am pro bath meal, but I haven't taken a bath in a couple of years. I like the idea of a bath, but I can't ever organize myself after the children have gone to bed to actually
it's tricky sometimes.
Get it taken care of.
I just want you to know I've been going through a bath-assance, a bath renaissance, and I've taken 3 baths since the start of this podcast.
Since,
None of them are longer
we started
than 10
recording.
minutes. Oh, no. In this 35 minutes, I have taken 3 baths. No, incorrect. Since I started this podcast back in October, I have taken 3 baths, which is more than I had taken in the entire 15 years prior.
That is nice.
Yes. Do you have a go-to author?
I read a lot of Nalini Singh. Like I'll get hers no matter what.
Can you tell me Psy Changeling? Is that her?
Yes.
Is that how I say it? I've never said this word
I think
out
it's
loud.
Psy Changeling. Mm-hmm.
Great. It is now.
It is now.
Perfect. So that's one of her most well-known.
Yes. And then there's also the Guild Hunter series, which I also really like. It's more urban fantasy. I mean, it's definitely romance, but it's got a more urban fantasy kind of feel to it.
Absolutely. Sounds fun. I actually knew that author. Sometimes people are like, this is my go-to author, and I pretend really well.
And I recently discovered Ilona Andrews, and I've been reading their stuff too.
I think I have. Have you been going through that discovery on The Cult?
Yes.
I feel like you have been, yeah.
Because I feel like the Kate Daniels I tried multiple times and like skipped it because I didn't like it, but the Hidden Legacy series is fantastic.
That's the one.
And now I'm going.
Are you excited for KissCon? Because they will be there.
Yes.
Are you going to get anything signed?
Well, I don't have books. I don't have books, but I might have to buy them.
You probably could buy them there if you really wanted to. You could. I think I'm going to bring a tote bag.
Oh.
Because I don't have paper books in my house, really. So I feel like a tote or something like that is going to be what I want to get signed.
Oh, that's a good thing to do.
So that I don't have to have all the paper books. What is your favorite carb?
I think I have to go with potato in French fry form.
French fry potatoes.
Yes.
And you consider those a carb, not a fried food separate category.
I consider them a carb.
Great, me too. Are you an Aaron or a Melody?
I am an Aaron.
I knew that already, actually. What's your Hogwarts house?
Ravenclaw.
I figured that as well, but I thought I would ask. I don't know why I didn't think that you were as, I guess, not driven. What is the right word that I'm thinking about? As Slytherin.
Yeah, I'm not quite there.
It's not driven. That's not the right thing because you're obviously driven, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I know.
Upwardly, like power driven is what I'm thinking of.
I am quite happy to be like just the middle management, like just do my job, show up at work.
So me too. But here's the thing that I'm going through right now is like, I don't want to be in charge of other human beings.
No.
You know what I mean? At all. I want to be in charge of myself.
Yes.
And that's it.
I don't want to have that kind of responsibility. Like I will go in, I'll do my work. I do have a little side project that I am responsible for, but I don't want to do any of the other side things that are going on at work.
Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. Do you have a problematic fave?
Probably the old school romance. It takes me a while to like even realize that some of them are problematic, just because that's what old school romance is. Like there was something that we read in the Cult, or one of the books that they did, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it was the Justice for Fiora."
Oh, yeah, Justice for Fenella.
And I'm like, oh, I guess that is problematic. But that's just like, it's just old school romance. Like, that's just the way they roll.
I understand. I don't know if this is your cup of tea or not, but if you had like a go-to karaoke song or something like that, what would it be?
I like real Japanese karaoke where it's like
in the rooms.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is fantastic. Yes. Like I'm not all about the up in front of everyone. Spice Girls are really good for karaoke songs.
Yes. Would you do like a If You Want to Be My Lover? Is that what it is?
Was it Wannabe?
Yeah.
Probably like something like
Yes.
that.
There. Yeah. Is that the one you would go to?
I think so.
Or like a Two Become One?
No, not To Become One. Not that one.
I like that one. There's some talk about going to do karaoke on the Thursday of KissCon. Just throwing it out there.
All right, that's good to know.
If you were gonna bing boom bong something, what would it be besides veins don't pulse?
Veins don't pulse. So when body parts are examined after someone is dead, it's by a pathologist. It's not a surgeon. Thank you, Nalini Singh.
Okay.
There was a book that she did where I was so annoyed because basically the pathologist was like, the monkey for her, like they just removed the brain and then handed it to the neurosurgeon, and the neurosurgeon decided that this wasn't a problem. And I was so angry because that's a neuropathologist's job. That is not, neurosurgeons wouldn't know what to do with a brain that is not inside
alive
of the head. Yeah.
Right.
But once it's out, it's like, I don't know, who knows what's going on. And also,
I mean, definitely not me. I do not know what's going on. But as we said, I lie firmly in customer service. And dead people, you don't need a lot of customer service skills with them. I'm just throwing it out there.
And then another book I just read, there's something where like he gave half of his heart to the heroine. And like they talk about the heart growing, you know, and like, oh, it's still growing and whatever.
That
and I'm like,
problematic.
That's like giving somebody half of a water balloon. Like it doesn't work.
I love that imagery thow. I just
I'm like,
love
how
that.
does this work? Like it doesn't function as it's supposed to once you cut it in half.
Yeah, like which I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, which one are the ventricles or atria?
The ventricles,
yeah,
that's insert that word into what I was trying to say.
And then it's all open, and so then you can't like squish it around your body. Like, how does this even work? I spent way too much time.
It's like cutting a muscle and being like, here, but use it though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I had to make I got a cow heart.
Oh.
When I bought, like, just for fun.
Yeah.
No, but I bought like a cow, like a half of a cow for meat purposes. Not just,
to regrow
again,
another half
fun.
of a cow.
Yeah. No, yeah. And so I got a beef heart and I was like, what the hell do I do this? But I made it into dog food. So it was fine. But I had it to like touch it and stuff. And it was a very interesting experience. It felt very different than I thought it was going to. Like a firm Jell-O.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like a very firm, I don't know. It was a very interesting texture. On that note, if you were going to dispense one condiment from your belly button, what would it be? I
think it would have to be a spicy mustard because that's really my go-to. If I'm going to go out of my way to get a condiment, it'll be that one. Like ketchup is all right, but you know, I don't need it all the time. But if I really want something, then there's like a spicy mustard.
Do you do ketchup on hot dogs?
I do, because I am a transplant.
I am not. So what's my excuse? Yes, I love ketchup on hot dogs. I know. I think that probably more Chicagoans would also like ketchup on their hot dog if they just really gave it a chance, but they're just snobs. So, you know, but that's the end of my lightning round.
All right.
This was awesome.
Thank you very much.
I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see you in person. Thank you so much for doing this with me. It was awesome.
Thank you for
rescheduling.
See you soon. I'm sorry.
Anytime. I will reschedule with you until the end of time. Erika.
Yes.
Keep being a badass and love yourself as much as you love heaving bosoms.
Yay.
Yay.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.